Good evening, welcome back to Brooklyn. Kevin Brown, John Crispin, thanks for spending part of your Thursday night with us, and a fun doubleheader in store once again. Should be a really fun championship game at Pitt VCU. Before that, trying to get out of here with a win.
Yeah, look, 2 years in a row we've had a good field. Last year it was Providence, played really well in this event, ended up going on, great run in the Big East, great run in the NCAA tournament. Could be one of those teams, maybe Arizona State, Michigan tonight. And every team has shown some vulnerability, but they've also shown some competitive potential. The idea is put more of that competitive potential together for 40 minutes and you got a good team. Now for VCU, last night they struggled to create off their defense. I think that's something that's a staple of this Mike Rhodes program, right? You create off your defense, force turnovers, and capitalize on some of those forced turnovers. It's who they are. They struggled to do that because of the matchup. Might be a better matchup for VCU and what they do in terms of forcing turnovers and applying that pressure. On the other end, it comes down to Nelly Cummings. He did not have a great game last night, couldn't find rhythm. They're going to ask him to do a lot, and part of it is manage the pressure, attack that pressure. But I do think it comes down to all five helping to alleviate that pressure out front. And Hinson might be a guy. I think Blake Hinson's a guy. At that fourth position, he could be a great pressure alleviator.
These teams a little short-handed today as well. For VCU, another game without Ace Baldwin, their best player, their preseason first-team all-conference point guard. Broke a bone in his right wrist. That's the non-shooting wrist last game. He'll be out for 2 to 3 weeks. They sorely missed him down the stretch last night. They did not hit a field goal in the final 8 minutes, 58 seconds. We knew Baldwin would be out. There are the numbers in the first 2 games for him. We did not know that Pittsburgh would be without John Hughley. Missed the first 2 games of the year after an injured knee September the 30th. Banged his knees with a Michigan player last night, and he is going to be out today. Pittsburgh's all-ACC performer from a season ago.
And look, he could be dominant down low in this matchup, but it also may allow Jeff Capel to play with more guards in the lineup to deal with the havoc.
For VCU, Mike Rhodes in year 6. 4 NCAA tournaments that occurred. Of course, 2020 canceled due to COVID. Took the Rams to the tournament in 19 and 2021 when their first round game was canceled because of some COVID issues in the VCU program. A lot of success trying to get Virginia Commonwealth back to the NCAA tournament for the 13th time in the last 19 NCAAs. And a few years before Mike Rhodes, that man was the head coach at VCU. 2002 to 2006, it was Jeff Capel at the helm. He was the youngest head coach in Division I at the time. Got the Rams job when he was 27, and now he gets to face his old school 16 years after he went to Oklahoma. Pitt and VCU first, Michigan and Arizona State next in the championship game. It'll be Federico, and Jalen Deloach, and VCU will knock the tip out of bounds. It'll be Pitt ball. Rob Riley, Bill Covington, Justin Porterfeld, our officiating crew tonight.
Now, Pitt played good basketball for probably 16 to 18 minutes of the game last night. But at one point, they just fell asleep. They stopped attacking. They stopped being aggressive defensively, and they just fell apart in terms of responsibilities.
An early 3 from Blake Hinson. With 13 points last night. Misses the open look, and here is VCU with Zeb Jackson as part of the VCU starting 5, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Jackson back in there for the injured Baldwin. Nunn and Watkins in double figures yesterday, and Brandon Johns, their leading scorer, misses a 3, along with Jalen Deloach down low.
Early in the season, it's really about managing responsibilities, managing and creating some rhythm, and trying to maintain that as long as possible throughout a 40-minute game. 5
transfers in the Pitt starting lineup. Elliott, a big shooter. Burton and Cummings can distribute. Hinson and then Federico getting the start for Hughley down low. Off the Pittsburgh turnover, this is Jade Nunn. 13 and 5 assists yesterday, filling in for Baldwin to the point guard spot. Watkins finds an open Jackson, who buries a 3. A welcome sight for a VCU team that did not hit a field goal in the last 8:58 of yesterday's game.
Well, that was good action, right? A little drive, draw 2, and read off of that. Zeb Jackson went to the open spot. Sometimes it's by design, but most of the time on the basketball floor, it's by read.
VCU, one of the nation's best defensive teams a season ago. Pitt was the worst offensive team in the ACC in an 11-21 year. Burton rattles out a three. Rebound secured by Jalen Deloach of the Rams.
The thing you watch early, too, is like, how is this game played? Who's dictating terms? If VCU is able to score, they're going to be able to apply pressure, and that tends to be the game changer.
Jackson. It'll be Deloach going into Federico. Lost the ball, picked up by Cummings. Colgate graduate transfer Elijah Cummings had a quiet night yesterday. Pittsburgh just 60 points in a game yesterday. Really struggled offensively in the second half. Burton led the way with 14. 5 to shoot. His pass knocked away and stolen by Jameer Watkins. And Watkins will lay it up over Burton, and the Rams have the first 5.
We talked in the open about VCU not being able to create off their defense last night, and that was a big problem late in that game where they struggled to score. So far, so good. High active hands.
After 4 straight empty trips, the basket for Pittsburgh comes from Hinson, the former Iowa State Cyclone. There are a lot of former somethings on this Pitt team. Even in the age of the transfer portal, it is a very transfer-heavy team. And the JUCO transfer Federico commits the first foul of the game.
Look, these teams have new departments that are for. Look, we've gotten to the point where we have a whole office with a few people who deal with scouting, but now scouting is the transfer portal. It's a hard thing to follow. When they get so many names in there, you know the ones at the top, mainly because they're going to get paid the most, and that's the story we made out of it. But man, it's really hard to follow. And this season, just because you saw a guy play last year doesn't mean you know how they're going to play in the new environment.
Watkins misses a 3. Johns crashing the offensive glass. The Michigan transfer has it back for VCU. Christian Furman sets the screen. He did not play last night. Freshman from Tobyhanna, Pennsylvania. Watkins in all kinds of trouble, threw it away. You're a Pennsylvania guy. You know where Tobyhanna is?
No idea.
Okay.
Well, I'm not really I'm a South Jersey guy.
Yeah, you're close enough. You're Scranton, Tobyhanna, PA.
Sure.
Burton trying to feed Federico. Again, no Hughley for Pitt. Panthers with losses to West Virginia and Michigan the last 2 games. Elliott off for Burton, and Burton elevates and scores.
Now the key for Pitt is going to be able to get just enough space to be able to attack off the bounce. They have multiple players on the floor that can do that off the bounce, but you need space to be able to attack. And there will be times if you're Pitt where you don't want to move too much because you could be running a secondary defender into the ball.
Furman fouled on the way up. He'll shoot a couple. VCU had the first 5. Pitt had the next 4. Both teams a little bit short-handed today. Again, no John Hughley for Pitt and no Ace Baldwin for VCU. Bit of a surprise to see Christian Furman in the game after not playing a second last night. 6'10" freshman, part of a terrific recruiting class for Mike Rowe's Rams.
It makes you think if they scored a little bit more in the second half and they're playing in the second game this evening, maybe you don't go to Furman. But the reality is you've got to find energy. Both these teams have to find and create their own energy. So I look to the benches in particular. When something good happens, and it's not just a score, you're not looking for superficial success. I want to see little things happen well, where there's communication, help. Build off of those things. That was too easy.
Federico on the drop-off.
But you see the bench for Pitt. They get up. They're excited about it. Again, you have to create your own energy.
Both these teams had good energy early in the games. Yesterday, Pitt's obviously dropped off as it went on. Can you find that the second night of a back-to-back after a loss for both sides?
Look, you look at this game and you say, look, it's not a must-win at this point. It's ridiculous to say that, but it's a must-play-well game. I think both these teams have to play well, feel good about who they are leaving Brooklyn.
Pitt has really crumbled in the face of adversity the last couple of games, and here's a block by Watkins on a driving Nike Sabandi. Nunn trying to push tempo into Hinson, and Hinson commits a foul. Free throws coming for Jaden Nunn.
Both teams playing with good energy. I think communication-wise and flocking to the basketball goes the way of VCU. That's what they do defensively. No help over there, but you're able to take that thing away at the rim. And then they go the other way, right? It's the steals they didn't get yesterday that really hurt them. And a lot of that comes down to the matchup. Arizona State had a lot of guards who could handle the basketball. The pressure didn't bother them as much.
Jaden Nunn misses the first free throw. And after VCU was near perfect at the line yesterday, 17 for 18, you start 0 for 3 tonight. Some pretty nasty regression to the mean. Nunn splits the pair.
So water finds its level type of thing, right?
That's a more folksy way of saying it.
More Philly way. We say water.
There should be a button, you know how we have the SAP button if folks want to watch the different language. There should be a Philly button for everything. So, water.
Library.
That just offends me. That's just a straight up omission of a letter. It's not a mispronunciation. The poor R. It's left hung out to dry. Coming shot. Will be knocked out of bounds with 11 to go. Did not hit the backboard, so no reset of the shot clock for Pitt.
There's going to be some opportunity for Pitt to get on the offensive glass, especially if they tack off the bounce. Two guys are going to the basketball. I think somebody like it's going to be an illegal screen. I think someone like Blake Hinson really has to get more active on the offensive glass if he has opportunities. If he's not being blocked out, the ball's not coming his way, the shot goes up. We need to get some offensive rebounders on the glass.
Fouls against Federico on the moving screen, his second.
It's so hard to set a screen without moving or getting called for. And we always say a lot of it comes down to the ball handler, waiting. But a lot of the ball screens come off the bounce. It used to be you get a screen on the sideline and you're stationary. It's easier to set that screen. A lot of this comes off the move. And you do have to wait for him to get set.
Watkins. Top angle shot to finish. Jameer Watkins, the 6'7" sophomore from Trenton. They've been in double figures in scoring the first 3 games.
Schreiber on the floor for VCU. I think you've got to drive it at him. Force them to help off with a good shooter. And if they don't help, then you finish at the rim.
Right now Schreiber's guarding Hinson, the leading scorer for Pitt in the first 3 games. Now it's Schreiber on Cummings, trying to win that matchup. Schreiber held up well enough. Elliott gets Banks in the air and can't finish, but Hinson can.
The paint touches are going to be important for Pitt. Not even worrying about scoring every time you get inside the paint, but at least give yourselves opportunities and watch how that defense rotates and flocks to the basketball. VCU, because it's an aggressive defense, they tend to flock to the basketball.
There's a paint touch. Hinson's drop off, not finished by Guillermo Diaz-Graham, the freshman in the game for Federico. Schreiber left it short. A little bit too late, and then he tugged the jersey of Diaz-Graham on the way to the ball. First foul against David Schreiber.
And Schreiber's got that green light, and I like that he does. He's a good shooter, but he also changes the game when he makes threes. When he makes threes, there's more spacing on the floor. We talked about Brady Manning for North Carolina last year. He was huge whether he scored or not. He brought defense with him. You couldn't help off of him. And the possession prior to that shot, he hung out in the corner, and there was no help. No help, you get a layup.
Burton's back on the floor for Pitt. What are you seeing from Pitt offensively so far?
Be nice, but not a lot. They're able to get to the basket off the bounce, but they haven't been able to move it and create a rhythm. And the rhythm is ultimately what hurt them yesterday. They never really got into a good rhythm. They made plays. Individuals made plays, but they didn't create a consistent rhythm that they could build on throughout the course of the game. And it's hard to do that against VCU, especially when VCU scores. If VCU scores and they apply that pressure, by the time you actually get into offensive action, it might be 18 seconds on the clock.
VCU last season, 4th best turnover percentage defensively in the country, and they just get one there on an airmail from Cummings.
The other thing you have to be concerned with, if you're Cummings and you're bringing the ball up, there's the pressure on the ball after a make for VCU. But what you're concerned with is where that potential run and jump may come from. That gets in your head and it allows the guy on the ball to apply even more pressure. It's more challenging than you know.
Deloach back on the floor for VCU. Johns in there as well, playing a post touch on Hinson. Johns, the former Michigan Wolverine, left it short, got it back, and then Hinson's block is going to go against him for a foul. And that's 2 early fouls on Blake Hinson.
I would like Brandon Johns Jr. to be just a smidge stronger. I don't know how much stronger, just a little bit stronger in the sense where you get those elbows out when you turn, you clear a little bit of space, and you go straight up. He's a guy that can finish more at the rim, just doesn't do it enough.
Sunday, the first in a 6-year series between Kentucky and Gonzaga, a Sonic blockbuster as part of our Feast Week presented by Lowe's out in Spokane, Washington, with the Zags the home team. 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, ESPN, and streaming live on the ESPN app. Two teams that are looking to get off the mat a little bit. Both have taken losses this week.
Define that one.
Well,
Get
Gonzaga
off the
was
mat.
smashed by Texas.
They lost the game.
Yeah, they're on the mat.
Like, the other guys tried too, and they're good. There's a lot of new pieces. There's a lot of pieces they lost. Like, none of these teams are going to be who they are in February, March.
They can still be on the mat.
The best teams are going to lose games. It's college basketball. No one is elite, right? We have some really good teams, but no one's unbeatable.
You're not arguing against me. This is all a straw man argument you're delivering. You just didn't like my phrase.
Yeah, I didn't like the phrase. Get up off the mat.
I'm going to get myself off the mat.
These guys are struggling. They lost the game. How dare they?
I didn't say that.
Gonzaga stinks. That's what you're saying.
Oh, this is nonsense.
No, I'll tell you, like, the programs that they've created, it's hard to sustain such a high level. And you can see against Michigan State how important Oscar Sheepway is. They're a different team.
Burton missed the foul line jumper. And there's been a slow start offensively for these two. None. Burton passed up an open three. And he passes up another one to feed Deloach. Into Diaz-Graham. Both Diaz-Graham brothers in the game, and neither could stop Deloach.
I make that point about Oscar Sheepway, and it makes me think of Ace Baldwin not playing with the wrist injury for VCU. And every team has a stabilizer. They're not all point guards. Oscar Sheepway, in so many ways, is Kentucky's stabilizer, like Ace Baldwin is the stabilizer for VCU.
Ace Baldwin out of the game. VCU's got the lead. Pitt with the ball. They'll try to get up off the mat when we return. Back to Brooklyn we go. Kevin Brown, John Crispin. 11-8 is the VCU lead in our third place game here, the Legends Classic. Jeff Capel, the former VCU coach. It's his 13th year as a head coach, Jeff Capel. When he started at VCU, he was hired after a couple of years as an assistant. He was hired as the youngest head coach at the time in Division I, 27 years old. And Jeff Capel was one of the coaches that helped to build VCU up to the kind of program it is now. Of course, notably Shaka Smart after him, and now Mike Rhodes.
Yeah, I got to say, every job is different than it was then, right? Completely different. You're still coaching basketball when it's all said and done, but there's a lot of other things that you have to deal with and consider as a coach today. And we used to talk about some jobs as being really tough jobs. That's a really tough job. This is a really tough job. Every job is tough these days when you consider all the variables and now all the things we're adding for coaches to kind of navigate and figure out along the way.
1 for 2. That's Jorge Diaz-Graham. Pitt is playing the Diaz-Graham brothers together, Jorge and Guillermo, for the first time. Twins from the Canary Islands in Spain. With Federico on the bench with 2 fouls and with Hughley not available with an knee injury.
I like what they did, picking up early, dropping and switching things up in the zone. Wouldn't mind seeing one of the brothers come out up top and apply some pressure with the leg.
Burton knocks it away. Deloach right on the spot, and it is Diaz-Graham. Jorge with a rebound for Pitt. Jorge number 31, Guillermo 25. This is Jorge, and that's a missed three. His brother crashing the glass. Guillermo's got it in between 3 Pitt defenders. Back out to his brother, who sweeps it home. The Diaz-Graham connecting for 2.
I like what they're doing with the sides. They're attacking the glass, and then they're sitting back in a zone. Just switching defenses is disruptive. That's too easy.
That's a 3 for Josh Banks.
Well, a good zone is good. When it's a bad zone, it's bad. I know, like, it's groundbreaking, right? But it's true. And it's got to be something that you do, that you buy into, that you know how to rotate. You still communicate defensively if you're going to go to zone. I think a lot of guys think that I'm in a zone, I play my area, and we're good. You still have to communicate. If anything, you got to communicate more.
Guillermo Diaz-Graham missed the 3. We'll see if Pitt drops back into it after a couple of possessions.
Oh, it's probably going to change after a miss or a make. They get a make. We'll see, and then it becomes predictable and you usually adjust.
Johns left it short, draws a blocking foul. Free throws coming up for Brandon Johns Jr.
It's good to see the Diaz-Graham brothers getting the time together, and they are working. They're capitalizing on the length down low. Second chance opportunities, little interior passing. There might have been a mild flex at the end of this, too. A subtle flex.
Very skinny arms, so it has to be subtle.
Says the dude who's like 6 foot, $140.
Well, yeah, I know. That's exactly why I'm talking about it. My only flexes are subtle. Jorge's 6'11", 190. Guillermo's 7 feet, 205. Guillermo's a little more of a big. Jorge's seen as a little more of a wing. Sort of under the radar prospect.
I have to be really sick to hit 190.
You have to be sick to hit 190.
Yes.
Where are you right now, John? You want to give us your measurables?
I'm a healthy 208.
Okay.
I could be a back to the basket kind of guy right now in the men's league at the Y. Just don't hit me in the head.
Keep trying not to. Elliott's on the deck. VCU's going to join him there, tie this up. And a possession arrow to the Rams. Another turnover forced by VCU.
So that's like the battle of attrition, right? You manage it well, that pressure at first. You get confident thinking that you can dribble through and maybe get into some offense that way, and it wears on you. The defense, the pressure, you're not sure where the run and jump's going to come from. You can't ever get stagnant or complacent when you're playing against a pressure defense.
It's 5 turnovers for Pitt, which has only hit 5 shots. Watkins wrapping it inside the Loach. On Diaz-Graham, couldn't finish. Here's Nate Santos. And a foul against VCU, the offensive rebound for Jorge Diaz-Graham.
I like what they're doing. I like the quick shot. You got a good look. In rhythm, you shoot it. You also have rebounders down low. And the Diaz-Graham brothers are doing a really good job being active. They're bringing the energy we talked about, right? We talked about creating your own energy out here. First game of a doubleheader, you're not going to have the crowd the second game's going to have, so you do have to create your energy early. And I'll tell you, the brothers are doing a good job.
Cummings, just putting out to Elliott. Here's Burton. And an open look after the gamble by Jameer Watkins. Couldn't convert. Johns takes it up the floor for VCU.
Sure, there's someone out there who played 40 years ago who's saying, use the glass. It's a little John Wooden flanker drill. I think that's what we called it.
Flanker drill?
Yeah, it was flanker drill.
Cummings with an unfortunate travel.
Haven't we seen a lot of guys slip out here? What that is. I get it if you slip on the big logo out front. The takedown logo in the middle of the court. I get if maybe you step on that the wrong way. It's different material. But we've seen a lot of guys just slip on the floor.
What was the slipperiest court you played on?
I mean, in high school, in middle school, I mean, you get to, honestly, in the ABA. You think you made it as a professional and you played in the ABA. And
yeah. Your time with the Flint Tropics, was that?
Yeah, that was probably the best way to describe that part of my life.
Offensive foul against Johns is his first, so 6 fouls apiece. Both teams will be in the bonus for the rest of this first half. Pitt just 2 for its last 11. Cummings bobbled. Cummings to the rim. Pitt 2 for its last 12. Here's Fats Billups, the freshman. Hot footing it away to Watkins. And some contact before the ball went out of bounds. We'll get a Pittsburgh foul with Watkins' help to his feet. Ellie Cummings picks up his first. It'll be a 1-and-1 for VCU. They may not realize it yet, but it is a 1-and-1. We're setting up the stack play. We got to set this one to the line.
It's funny just to watch around and say, who's going to figure this out first?
So it'll be Jameer Watkins. A nice start to the year, coming off a torn ACL a season ago. Sunday, maybe the game of the year in women's basketball, at least certainly a non-conference play. The defending national champion South Carolina against the previous defending national champion Stanford. Aaliyah Boston and the #1 Gamecocks against Haley Jones, Cameron Brink, and a second-ranked Cardinal. 3 Eastern, noon local on ABC and the ESPN app.
How great is that for the game that you get 1 versus 2? Rematch of the championship. It's just so good for the game of college basketball when you have great matchups early. And we get a lot of. There's another slip. I'm telling you, I'm onto something.
Burton able to keep his dribble.
Good find.
Brother to brother, and a foul will send Diaz-Graham to the line.
I mean, that's just a good instinctual find. When you don't have the ball, it's important to know where your teammates are. It's also important to know how this defense is rotating. So you anticipate the rotation, you anticipate where your teammates should be. And the Diaz-Graham brothers seem to be playing well off one another down low. They're also a threat from 3, which changes everything.
It's 2 out of the Canary Islands in Spain. Both were at IMG Academy, Bradenton, Florida for a year. Not very highly rated recruits, burst onto the scene a little bit late. International
that means
players.
Everything. That means everything.
I'm just giving the backstory.
Okay. Right.
What I'm saying, what I'm leading up to, if you let me finish my train of thought, is that Pitt feels like it may have found a couple of diamonds in the rough here. Athletic, skilled bigs, brothers that obviously have played together for a long time. They're getting some more major minutes than Jeff Cable might have expected here.
I think giving them responsibility is key. You know, minutes is one thing, but when you're asked to do more, you're asked to deliver, you play differently when you're given responsibility, when you're empowered on the floor. And with Hewley out, they're empowered to be playmakers.
That's a travel against Jackson. We're empowered to go to the under 8 break.
Some of us just live in an ideal world where everything ends up happy for everybody.
That's true. No matter how much insomnia there is or how many old guys look like Santa Claus in a small town somewhere in Michigan. News and notes in the top 25. We mentioned Texas Gonzaga. What else jumps out to you on this graphic?
I think Michigan State jumps out to me the most. I think there were a lot of questions about Michigan State coming in. Sissoko's been terrific. The point guard play, and I say the point guard play is a combination of Walker and A.J. Hogard. They've seemed to have figured that out late last season, and it's carried into this year. They also are a reflection of their coach, and that's what you look for. That's what every team really aspires to, because then there's consistency, right? Jay Wright and the culture at Villanova, a lot of that is Jay Wright. And the success Tom Izzo's had, a lot of it's been there, a reflection of their coach.
We're going to see Michigan, Sparty's big rival in the championship game tonight here against Arizona State. That's a 3 from Diaz-Graham, and he was fouled by a befuddled David Shriver. His second foul and 3 free throws coming up for Diaz-Graham.
I would play the Diaz-Graham brothers more often together because they're feeding off each other with energy. And you're looking for a spark, and sometimes you think the spark is on the surface, meaning you made a basket, you got an and one, there was a big block. I just want to see someone who wants to be on the floor. And right now, it's the Diaz-Graham brothers. And there's something to that little step back. Like, I work with kids every now and then, like in my small town, like some kid just working on his shot. They struggle with free throws because they take all the rhythm out of the free throw. He does this little step back, and in a way, it creates a little rhythm into the shot, right? A free throw where you go bounce, 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 shoot, it can be rigid at times. So by stepping into it, there's a little rhythm into the shot. Now, if he missed these, I'd say it's dumb.
It's a results-based business.
Be real, man. Talking about not judging the surface. Look, he's a shooter. He can shoot. He's got a great stroke, high release. You know, you look at 7 feet and skinny, and you say Chet Holmgren. They don't have that full skill set, but you can see the potential for both of them to be effective in their roles.
Physically, they just look like that. There's some Chet in the body. Not to say, again, they're going to be top picks, but they have given Pitt some good energy. They're back within 2, despite the foul trouble for Hinson and Federico, without Hughley on the floor with a knee injury.
Good scramble.
Banks missed a 3. Offensive rebound to Watkins. On the ground, Diaz-Grahams are there. It's going to be tied up by Guillermo. It'll be a jump ball ahead of the way of Pittsburgh.
So look at Pittsburgh's bench. They're up off the bench. They've got good energy in this. And you know, as a player, you feed off the guys that don't get a lot of time, more so than feed off the guys that you expect a lot from. And if you say that's silly, just think about it for a little bit. When guys get an opportunity to go do something and they do it and they live up to what you know to be their potential, you get excited for them. And that brings a good energy on the floor.
Burton inside, Diaz-Graham. He will miss a bunny. Neither team has hit from the field in about 4 minutes.
In about 15 pounds, he's going to dunk that.
None. Here's a freshman, Toby Lawal. Rebounded by Elliott. Closing in on 4.5 without a bucket for VCU.
Sounds familiar, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the issue last night.
Final 8:58.
Just struggled to create, didn't get it off their defense, and offensively just didn't have a good rhythm.
And all without Ace Baldwin.
Yeah, that's the key. I mean, he's the guy. He can stabilize. He can facilitate. He knows how to feel out who needs a shot, and sometimes it's going to be him.
Jorge Diaz-Graham wayward on a 3. Pitt is 1 for its last 10. None. Goodness me. Diaz-Graham trying to go all the way. That's blocked. His brother's there to pick it up. A made field goal has occurred. Ends a scoring drought of 5+ minutes for Pitt. Ends a combined 0 for 10 stretch in the game. And the Panthers have tied it. Watkins couldn't unlock the lid for VCU. And here's Elliott trying to give Pitt the lead. Cummings. Diaz-Graham thought about a 3. Backing in Johns. Off to his brother, missed the fadeaway.
There's adrenaline in these guys. They've been long on every shot they've taken. They've just got to settle in. They're going to make a lot of shots. Now, the other thing is defensively, they're contesting everything. They haven't blocked a ton of shots, but they're contesting everything. So the guards have to be active rebounders, particularly in the zone.
Banks trying to wrap his way around. That'll be a foul on Jorge. Picks up his first. Josh Banks will go to the line for a 1-and-1.
And I like what Jeff Capel's doing. He's got a lineup that he feels comfortable with. And you're going to let them ride this thing out and see what they can do. See if they can find a little something offensively. Because that's been the challenge, right? They've been good defensively. Been some tough shots forced. They've got rebounds. And VCU hasn't really been able to score. But offensively, you need to find something consistently. And Nelly Cummings, over the last 2 days, just hasn't had it.
Banks hits the front end.
What was his stat with West Virginia? The plus-minus? He was 0 when he was on the floor. The team was 0 when he was on the floor, and minus what?
Minus 25, Nelly Cummings, in the 18 minutes he was off.
Look, sometimes that's a nonsensical stat. We get too buried in stats and analytics. It doesn't tell the whole story. There's more variables to the game than that. But when they're obvious, they're obvious.
Cummings does not have a point or an assist today in 12 minutes. Elliott. Diaz-Graham, good shot fakes at his feet, and he buries a 3.
Rhythm dribble.
And that flex was not subtle.
Yeah, well, I don't think it was subtle.
He's got half of Pitt's points, Jorge Diaz-Graham. Kern slashing, finds an open man. 3-pointer no good from none. And then a foul against Deloach on a clean box out from Guillermo.
If you're trying to find some offense, the idea is get the defense to chase. Create some sort of chase, right? Create an advantage on the offensive end. Just pump fake, draw 2, kick out. I like the pump fake. That's a rhythm dribble. Right, you think he wasted that dribble by putting it on the floor. You get rhythm in the shot by putting it down on the deck, right? Pump fake, hard to go straight back up after a pump fake, rhythm dribble. That's the best looking shot we've seen from him all day.
Talked about the shooter's pocket yesterday too, and how a right-handed shooter can have success going to your left after a dribble.
Well, you're in the pocket, and if you're at home and you're trying to figure out what the heck we're talking about, dribble to your left if you're a right-hander. You're going to realize I'm already square in my pocket.
That's another turnover. Kern with an overthrow after losing the dribble. Now 6.5 minutes without a field goal for VCU.
Once again, VCU just struggling to force turnovers. And you look at Jorge Diaz-Graham, he's been terrific.
He had 2 points total in his first 3 college games. No Hughley tonight. Federico's out of the game with 2 fouls. Hinson's out of the game with 2 fouls. And the freshman brothers Jorge and Guillermo Diaz-Graham have played huge minutes for Pitt. Cummings with a turnover. And here is VCU still in search of that elusive field goal. Kern banks. Diaz-Grams are double teaming, and Banks wraps around to Deloach, and finally VCU scores from the field after 12 possessions without a field goal.
Challenge for VCU is that's not something you can build on. It was a broken play. It was an opportunity created by a miscommunication defensively. You need to start moving the basketball and building on something offensively.
Burton had it stripped. Takeaway for Nunn.
Yep, steals help.
See if Nunn can turn the takeover to points. Johns all alone. Left it short. Is that a clappable miss, or can you do better?
I wish he missed it better than that.
What do you mean?
That was a bad miss. Very short. You know, feet really weren't ready to shoot. And if your feet aren't going to be ready to shoot, you shouldn't shoot. You lower the percentage in terms of lowering the chances of making that shot by not being shot ready before the ball got there.
Well, we got another jump ball. VCU will have it. What's the differential between you and me? Is that 65 pounds?
Yeah, probably. Well, I said you weighed 140, which I tend to exaggerate a lot. I just didn't exaggerate my own weight.
No, it's actually 138. Jackson to Johns, and one of the Diaz's Graham is on the floor. That's Jorge. If that's on him, and it is, that's his second foul.
So this is interesting because this is significant minutes, right? And you have to get used to playing significant minutes. Now, it's different at the college level because you're actually playing defense. No one really defends in high school. You play defense, but you don't defend. If you need me to tell you how they're different, then I don't know how to help you. They're defending out here. They're fighting down low. You apply effort unlike anything you've ever applied. So they're going to get tired. And it'll be good to see them push through this a little bit because they are the energy that brought Pittsburgh back into this game.
Jorge's got a little blood on his jersey as he leaves the game. Johns hits two. The bloody knee. Not quite Kurt Schilling level, a little higher. It's been a bloody tournament.
Put a Thomas the Tank Bandit on it. We're Paw Patrol, whatever you got.
Back out to Watkins on Pro Paw Patrol. I'm good with that. Johns buries a triple. Brandon Johns Jr. after a couple of free throws on the last possession hits a three, and VCU's up 6.
Yeah, that's a killer because I doubt they get that offensive rebound if Jorge Diaz-Graham's in the game.
Santos replaced him. They dropped about 4 inches with that move. Burton's had a quiet first half for Pitt. Only 2 points, 1 for 4 from the field. Santos, no. Diaz-Graham fighting for it. It's Nunn with a rebound and 1:30 to go. A 7-0 run for VCU. Nunn into the body of Cummings, who sticks with him. Jackson for Watkins and steps.
Pittsburgh got lucky there. If you watch that defensive scramble, it was slow. You know, pointing doesn't do the job. You got to get your butt out there. You got to close out with a sense of urgency. You have to communicate with a sense of urgency. If you don't communicate with a sense of urgency, then you're not going to move with a sense of urgency.
Elliott, typically a big three-point shooter. He'll go into the paint and he'll rattle it home.
Yeah, he did a good job absorbing contact, sitting down, maintaining balance, and going straight up. Now, you have to know as a ball handler, you get inside, and if you're going to absorb contact on the jump stop, you can go straight up and he's not going to block your shot. Because the contact you absorb took the defender out of the play.
Jackson. Johns trying to chase it down. And was last touched by Burton.
It's weird to say for Pittsburgh being down 4. I think they found something with the Diaz-Graham brothers being in the game at the same time. And they've been disruptive around the rim, but also offensively easier to move the basketball. They're passing over top of the defense.
Nunn. Yep. Fouled by Cummings. His second foul now, so Nelly Cummings in some foul trouble for Pitt. Tip off your weekend with a great NBA Friday doubleheader tomorrow. Joel Embiid and the Sixers, Giannis and the Bucks at 7:30 Eastern, followed by the Knicks against Steph Curry's Warriors at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. NBA Countdown starts it all at 7 Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app.
Everybody all worried about the Warriors. Yeah, what a road game. Klay Thompson getting called out. I think we like the drama.
I think sometimes we like the drama of the NBA more than the actual play.
No, look, the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, it's like it's reality TV in so many ways.
Burton will take the use it or lose it timeout.
Throw Kyrie into the mix and everything goes crazy.
Time to go to break now that you mentioned
Knocked down
Kyrie.
a three. There's great potential there, but what I like the most is the energy they created. And it's energy that the rest of that team, the entire bench, fed off of throughout the first half. And yeah, they're down 6 points, but it doesn't feel like they've really lost the first half, if that makes any sense at all.
Well, they kind of lost the first half in the last minutes against Michigan last time is what I saw. So I get what you're saying. They haven't let this game get away from them the way that West Virginia and Michigan did. Trying to get it to a one-possession game. Diaz-Graham will do just that. Make it a two-possession game, a 4-point game off the feed from Burton.
4-point game and a stop here makes you feel like you're going into the break winning or tied. Feel like. Not is, but feels like.
Jackson. Jackson scores with Diaz-Graham coming over to close late. The lead back to 6 and then knocks it away from Burton. Pitt has used its timeout, and VCU will not take its use it or lose it timeout.
I wonder if you bring Jorge Diaz-Graham back in with the length, maybe throw up top, shoot over the top. It's not.
It'll be Burton giving it to Guillermo. In and out on a 3. Would have been a splendid way to end a half that was dominated by the Diaz-Graham for Pitt. But VCU's got the lead. Much better defensive half for them. Rams with an 11-4 run to close.
Thank God for the Diaz-Graham brothers that they brought an energy. Their stat line wasn't great, but they brought energy. They influenced the game, and that's what you look for from guys coming off the bench. They played significant minutes in the first half.
Scored 14 of Pittsburgh's 24. Major foul trouble for the Pitt starters. They're all on the floor to begin half number 2. Federico in the game with those 2 fouls, and that's going to be a third. Saw it coming the whole way. A charge drawn by Zeb Jackson.
There are times when you see that charge happening like it's in slow motion. That was one. And you teach jump stop, don't jump in the air to pass, but man, habits are hard to break. But it gets Diaz-Graham back in the game.
It'll be Guillermo.
I was going to say, I needed your help with which one it was.
Guillermo's the 7-footer. He's number 25. Jorge's the 6'11", or he's number 31. To say Diaz-Graham, you'll get it right one way or another. Brandon Johns had 7 to lead the way for VCU, and Johns will lay it in to give it 9.
Okay, good. There's Brandon Johns being deliberate with the basketball. That's what I'm looking for more of him. Be deliberate, put it on the bounce, be strong, finish at the rim.
Largest lead for VCU. Jamarius Burton's deflected pass taken away, but a foul is called. Jackson thought he had a clean steal. Instead, it's his second foul.
It'll be interesting to see. Pitt wasn't as good when, I guess it was Jorge, went out with the fouls, correct? Mm-hmm. He went out with the fouls, and Pitt wasn't as good. The two together just made them different. And VCU, while they took the lead and they extended the lead a little bit with a nice run late in the half, it would have been nice to get to go. It didn't feel like VCU was running away with it by any means.
Hinson off the miss from Jackson. Hinson just missed a 3. Nunn went absolutely flying, and Hinson scored.
I mean, that was, I can't wait till someone kicks the ball out of bounds so we get to see that again. It's up there with LeBron's. Floppy. That's what I'm talking about.
No, it was not assessed as a Class B technical foul, which, you know what, I think we're fine with. Let the play go.
Yeah, let's keep this moving. Let's get up and down the floor. Look, there's the rhythm that is the game, and there's a rhythm you create offensively and defensively, and neither team has been able to be consistent with it.
Cummings guarded by Nunn, who had 3 steals in that first half. And nearly a steal for Jackson. He'll get whistled for another foul, his third.
That's amazing. You have to try to do that. Full speed. Shot I mean, the funny thing is we make up all these silly new rules about flopping and everything so we don't manipulate the game. Just don't call it. It's as easy as that.
Hinson finally comes to life with a three. Just the second Pittsburgh triple of the game. They're 2 for 11, but they're within 3.
Hinson needs to find it on both ends, right? He's going to be covering Brandon Josh Jr., who just had a nice little play down low. Let's see if they come back to him. But he offensively has to be better. And at times, you've got to get an easier shot to get yourself going on the offensive end.
Jackson out of the game with 3 fouls. Banks replaced him for VCU. Johns faces up, missed it. Here comes Cummings for Pitt. Cummings still without a point or an assist, the Panther point guard. Hinson off the shot fake. On the drop-off, Diaz-Graham is fouled. And Deloach has picked up his third.
There's Hinson again. He's the toughest matchup on the floor for VCU. He's got a good body. He's physical. He's strong. If he gets into the paint, defense will converge. Defense helps off. Easy dump down. Like, that's just basketball, right? It's the stuff you do since day one. You drive, you draw two, you dump it down.
Guillermo Diaz-Graham, 4 points, 4 rebounds in that first half. And David Schreiber will replace Deloach. So both Deloach and Jackson have picked up their 3rd fouls for VCU in the opening moments of the second half. This Diaz-Graham, Guillermo does not do the step back that his brother Jorge does, and he goes 1 for 2. If you're wondering which one is which, you can know by the jersey number or by the free throw line routine.
There you go.
There's none.
That's a jump.
It sure is. Drawn by Cummings. And VCU racking up early fouls. That's 4 in the first 2:50 of the half.
I think we've done a better job of awarding good defense, right? It used to be you had to be set, not moving. Now we understand, look, you're in legal guarding position. You get rewarded for playing good defense. That was good defense.
I think so far this has been a very well officiated tournament.
It has been.
Elliott into Schreiber.
Mainly because we haven't had a ton of flops. And better rhythm.
It was the one called yesterday against Hinson, I think it was, a Pitt.
That was on the kick out on the shot, and that's one you've got to get out of the game.
Watkins taken into Diaz-Graham, sets up Johns. Missed a 3. Elliott with a strong rebound for Pittsburgh, boxing out Schreiber. Cummings will look to attack, look to finally score. He does, and ties the game.
And his opportunities may come in transition, so if you do push it up with the bounce, just watch how the defense rotates. That paint opened up, little quick crossover, got to the other side of the rim.
8 in a row for Pittsburgh after VCU's largest lead. Schreiber. Johns wasn't paying attention, and Diaz-Graham slams the Panthers into the lead. Timeout, VCU.
Pitt went into the half, they were down 6. It didn't feel like they were losing the game. Pitt should have confidence as they come out in the second half. Should have even more confidence if you can get Nelly Cummings going. So on the other end, you've had the Diaz-Graham brothers. Both have been terrific. This is Guillermo, big steal and finish. And the energy is what I've talked about since the first half. You've got to create your own energy in a situation like this. And the Diaz-Graham brothers have been the ones to do it.
We've got 17 of the 34 for Pitt, Guillermo and Jorge. A 10-0 run. This is the largest lead for Pittsburgh at 2. Panthers have led this game for about 1:45. VCU's led for nearly 18 minutes. Very similar to last night. A steal. Cummings takes it away from Johns. Up ahead, Hinson. A lot of contact. Follow is there for Burton. 12 in a row.
Yeah, you got a lot of contact, but you also had 3 defenders going after the basketball. Nobody there to rebound. That's where all 5 have to get back and get involved.
Last 7 trips for VCU. 4 missed shots. 3 turnovers. And a fourth turnover. Watkins runs into Cummings, who draws his second charge of the half. The VCU yesterday led by 11 in the second half. Arizona State ended the game on a 22-7 run. Did not hit a field goal in the last 8 minutes and 58 seconds without Ace Baldwin, their point guard again. VCU has not scored in 4+ minutes in a row here in the second half, which Pitt has outscored them in 12-2. They will get a turnover here on a tie-up. I know Baldwin is a big part of this, obviously. He's their engine, their point guard. How do they figure this out without him?
I think you have to attack more. I know it's hard to ask somebody to facilitate and initiate when that's not really what they do consistently. If you get pressure, attack it, but you also need good space. And taking your best player off the floor, it does more than you realize. That's going to be a trap. It does more than you realize, and sometimes it's just getting into something, right? When there are moments throughout the course of the game where a guy that knows how to play the game feels that moment and says, all right, this is a big possession, not just to score, but to get something to build off of. This is a guy who needs to get a look. Let me help him get a look. And that's what your leaders do better than anybody else. That's something I'm looking for from Nelly Cummings as well.
And Cummings banks it in on cue.
But I'm not looking for him just to score. At some point, he's got to be a creator. And you've got to find a way to get a guy like Hinson going. Get open, feed the post down low, get it into a ball screen situation and get the defense chasing.
It's a 14-0 run. Shriver breaks it.
And that's good action, right? You know you have a shooter on the opposite side, screen and roll going away. That defender's going to sag in to take that roll away, and Shriver's going to be the guy to get the shot.
It's the first assist for Nunn. He had 5 yesterday. Only the 5th assist for VCU collectively. Elliott. Hinson. He'll step back over Shriver, and he'll roll home a 3. Blake Hinson after a 4-point first half with 8 here in the second.
It wasn't a good offensive possession. Let's just be real about that. It was a tough shot late in the clock. But if you get those to go, it changes the way you approach possessions. A little bit of confidence here and there. Get yourself a little swagger, get yourself a little edge. And Hinson's one of those guys. When he's rolling, he plays with an edge. It's an edge we haven't really seen in the last 2 days. It's starting to come out of him a little bit.
10-point per game score a couple of years ago at Ole Miss. Did not play at Iowa State last year. Little rust to be expected. Has had some good performances though early, including 27 in the opener against UT Martin. Banks off the cut. The feed from Deloach. Good action there for VCU.
It's just not jumping to the ball. Simple fundamentals that we talk a lot about. C-man, C-ball, jump to the pass, whatever it is. When you don't do it, you get beat.
Then has Federico back in the game along with Jorge Diaz-Graham. Guillermo's out. Cummings able to keep his dribble alive. Burton. Extra pass. Elliott from Diaz-Graham. Rebound to Shriver.
Clappable miss in my mind, at least.
Nice extra pass, too.
Oh, look, it's the right pass. You got the closeout. And a lot of times the playmaker gets the hockey assist these days, not the actual assist.
Deloach just squeezes it in. Wasn't pretty, but in this game it counts for the Mona Lisa. Lead is down to 2. It was up to 6 a few possessions ago. And now Federico fouled on the floor. That's 6 on VCU and a half.
I want to see how the length can feed off one another with Federico and Diaz-Graham on the floor. That's Guillermo. Yeah, that's Guillermo on the floor. The brothers fed off. That's Jorge. Excuse me. The brothers fed well off each other, and they did it with size. They attacked the offensive glass. They contested a lot of shots. They made everything difficult. They got to the offensive glass. It's key.
There, Burton off the tip from Diaz-Graham, trying to tip it again. This time into the hands of VCU. Watkins feeds Banks, undercut by Burton. He scores, and he can give the Rams the lead back at the line.
That's huge, given how difficult it's been for VCU to score in the half court. They have struggled to find consistency on the offensive end in the half court. It's just a breakdown, no one getting back. And that happens. happens too. Look, they're trying to tap the ball out with an offensive rebounding opportunity, so you come up as a guard, and you come up and don't get the basketball, you get beat.
One shot for Josh Banks, who's played big minutes in this tournament. Couldn't complete the three-point play. Minutes to go in this third-place game. Michigan and Arizona State in the championship waiting. Off the mark for Diaz-Graham, out of bounds. It will stay with the Panthers. All of a sudden, we got a basketball game. You'll always schedules an intense out of conference. This is about as intense as it's gotten for Gonzaga. Credit to them for all the great games they've given us. Michigan State, Texas last night. They're going to get Kentucky 2 versus 4 for the weekend. Houston will go to Oregon. North Carolina will go to Portland. Baylor's in the Continental Tire main event. There's the top 5 in the East week. Diaz-Graham way short over Shriver. Feels like the week where college basketball really gets going. Last week was technically the opening week. The Champions Classic kicking off a great feast.
I think the Champions Classic is big. Having a game on an aircraft carrier is a big deal too. That was just awesome to watch.
Jackson finds Deloach underneath Federico awkwardly. Federico able to avoid his 4th foul there. Cummings spinning out to Elliott. Not been his night shooting. Another offensive rebound for Pitt. Elliott probing. Not a good decision by any means. Shriver from Jackson. And VCU's got the lead. Second triple for the D2 transfer, David Shriver.
It's just amazing how one poor decision leads to a great opportunity on the other end.
And here's another. Jackson took it away from Cummings.
One poor decision. That one poor decision on an offensive rebound, which you got to understand, that's a great opportunity. Offensive rebound, you don't have something, get that ball moving. Another possession, make that defense work, see if you can get it back inside the paint. Instead, you go baseline, throw it to the other team, they get a 3 and now got the ball back. And everything starts to flow back the way of VCU, now up 5.
It is an 11-0 run, and here's that bad decision you're talking about.
You're just you're off balance. You don't even know that there's anybody over there because the defense is scrambling. The offense, frankly, was scrambling, trying to get back into space after an offensive rebound. So you got to make a better decision. Nothing wrong with getting the ball back out up top or reposting. But you can't make that decision, and it leads to VCU with an open 3 opportunity in rhythm. Then set up the defense because you made a shot. VCU hadn't been able to do that a ton. And you get the steal. And down 5 in this game feels like a lot because offense has been hard to come by.
2 straight steals for Jackson, who had a bit part in Michigan over 2 years. Just 20 games, 29 total points. He was a very highly regarded freshman out of Montverde Academy. One of a couple of former Wolverines on this team. And he's had a chance to make a little bit larger of an impact in the starting lineup this tournament with Baldwin out. It breaks the pressure. Cummings. He was rejected soundly by Kern.
Or fouled, partner.
He was fouled by Kern after a sound rejection.
I love how you added soundly to that as if like...
Yeah, he got him on the body, didn't he?
Sure he did. I mean, look, there's contact on the body.
But I feel like you're missing something. Like you want to say more.
I left it open for everybody to figure out what I'm implying. Like I'd like to see more plays play out at the rim. I think we've done a good job with verticality, but I would love to see more of those plays where there is a little contact, but if you get the ball, a lot of times in that case, I think Nelly Cummings created that contact more so than the defender did. So I would like just a no call. I love the no call.
Jeremy, our camera guy who got the worst of that, is saying I'm fine with a no call, but he did draw the charge.
It's a physical game.
Jackson. Not quite what he was hoping for into traffic. Here's Burton with a Pittsburgh steal.
There's been honestly a lot of situations in this game where I just wonder, where are you going? That's been the challenge. Is a lot of times, where are you going?
Going to Cummings in the corner. Game tie.
it's like you're dribbling into help defense without reading where the open man's going to be or where that help might be coming from. You're just dribbling. Attack open space, right? Develop a little rhythm on the offensive end by attacking some open space. Make the defense rotate, move the basketball a little bit, and see what you can find offensively.
Johns into Diaz-Graham. Wave off the shot.
Diaz-Graham.
There a foul on the floor. Guillermo Diaz-Graham with his second.
It's a challenge for a very tall, lengthy player, right? You want to close out, you want to take the shot away, but then you got to get wide and long, right? You got to get those feet out, you got to get your hands out, be active. You stand up, you're going to get that foul called on you every single time. You're too obvious when you're 7 feet tall and have a 12-foot wingspan. Like, I could get away with a lot more at 6 feet than anybody who's 7 feet is ever going to get away with.
A 5-second count. Jorge has joined Guillermo in the game, so the Diaz-Graham brothers on the floor for the first time together this half, I believe.
They provided the spark in the first half.
And that's going to be foul number 3 against Guillermo.
If I come off a ball screen, I'm going to run into that guy who's hedging every single time. If I'm getting screened in a ball screen, I'm going to run into that screener every time. It seems like those two are the ones that they call the most. It's an open space. I don't think that was egregious, but they look for it, and it's obvious. You're watching the ball, you see the contact. Ball screen, run right into the screener. They call it every time.
Jackson.
Most of the time.
Johns. Rebound to Guillermo. Good nickname for the Diaz-Graham brothers.
Well, you have it. Well, there he is. Okay. Now he comes. He's starting to get involved in this game. And there's like this frustrated energy coming out of him, right? It's been a little frustrating. He hasn't been able to get it going the last 2 games. He's important for this team. And I like the lineup they have on the floor right now. If I'm Pittsburgh, I want to build a little lead with this group. I think this is a group that has the advantage.
7-0 run all by Cummings. Inside to Deloach, outside to Johns, extra pass Banks. 3-pointer no. Here comes Burton. Transition for Pitt. Burton takes the bump. Burton banks it home. Third time this half, one team has scored at least 9 points in a row. Pitt's had a 12-0 run and a 9-0 run. VCU's had an 11-0 run in there. And a foul against Pitt here. Cummings picks up number 3.
And I would say that this isn't really a game of runs, although we've had runs in this game. Do you understand the difference? Like, the way this game is played, the rhythm of this game is not the type of game where you're going to see one team go on a 10-2 run, the other team goes on a 12-4 run. It's just not like that. The offense has been stagnant. I think we've seen the runs because of poor offense on the other side.
They're also not 7-0 runs in 3 possessions either. It might be 7-0 over 2.
It's been like over the half.
Yeah. Here's a jumper for none. That stops the run. It was 9 straight for Pitt before the jumper. Jaden Nunn.
Look to run and jump here if he could.
Run all over Burton. And now it's Johns who draws the assignment. Nunn's got Diaz-Graham on him. Burton didn't realize it. Burton will go to the corner instead. Cummings, offensive foul. And Cummings has picked up fouls 3 and 4 in short order. 7 lead changes. Pitt's got 28 points in the paint out of its 50, 14 turnovers apiece. And the Panthers have the lead, but Nelly Cummings just picked up his 4th foul.
Yeah, and it was a good call. It was definitely charged. I think Banks sold it a bit. But if you sell it, are you not manipulating the game, right? There's all those things where deceiving the officials, all the terminology we like to use for some of these rule changes.
Cummings had a very bloody towel like. Nunn couldn't get it to go on the other side. So Cummings is out of the game for Pitt. Burton still in there.
He's really good handling the ball in tight situations, getting to the basket. He kind of cuffs it like Stephon Marbury did back in the day. Gets through a tight area, hard to steal the ball from him.
He's one of the toughest kids at Wichita State a few years ago. Went to Texas Tech. Now his second year at Pitt.
We still can't get over it, right? Like, they went here, here, and here. We had Dry Hornet. Was Tulsa?
Yep.
At Tulsa, he was at Tulsa or at Colorado, then Tulsa, then Nebraska, then back to Tulsa.
Emmett Matthews went to West Virginia, then transferred, then came back. Diaz-Graham going to be called for steps. Turnover number 15 against Pitt.
He's questioning the call, but Jeff Capel saying just move it. There's nothing there, right? For a player that size, he's not going to blow by anybody. Just move the basketball. Maybe cut through, get yourself on the block.
VCU has 7 players with between 5 and 9 points. Deloach is one of those. He's got 6. Inside, Watkins. Rebound, Diaz-Graham.
They're just getting stagnant offensively, and you don't really have the advantage against either Diaz-Graham brothers, so move the basketball. Move bodies. Get just one closeout where a defender's off balance and you can attack it and put the defense in a bad situation. But when you stand and you just watch somebody massage the ball down on the block to throw a bad pass, you're not building off of anything. I think that's been the challenge. I think with both teams offensively, they get stagnant because they haven't built and been consistent enough to continue to build throughout the course of the game.
Foul is the second on Johns. 1-and-1. Burton missed the front end. The ACC's second best free throw shooter a season ago, 88%. Leaves a couple of points out there.
Talk about offensive struggles and struggles to find rhythm. A lot of that is because of having a lot of transfers and new bodies and new people in different roles. Not really having, but also not really having pecking order established, the dynamic of the team established. So at times it can get sloppy and choppy.
Burton, who just missed a free throw, hits a free throw line jumper. Jamarius Burton in double figures, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Active game for him. 2 possession lead for Pitt. Panthers are plus 10 in the second half. Watkins trying to get around. Diaz-Graham went to the right hand. Out of bounds. Off of Diaz-Graham, one of them.
Guys that are that long have to high point the ball. They often lose the battle when the ball gets to the opponent's level. Those guys, rebounding drills will be great. Just develop that coordination to high point that basketball. They'll get 90% of the rebounds that come their way.
Johns into Diaz-Graham, left it short. Guillermo stood up tall, and that's out of bounds touch by Guillermo Diaz-Graham. But once again, these freshmen holding their own in the paint for Pitt.
Holding the ground, the right to verticality, again, something that's great in the game because there's often a foul every time someone goes to the basket. Sometimes the whistle felt like it was blown before anything even happened. But that's a good play on, no call, good defense to avoid the foul.
Big minutes for the Diaz-Graham brothers. The DGBs.
Sure.
On the break. There's a foul that will send VCU to the line for a 1-1. Foul is against Jorge Diaz-Graham, his third.
It sounds like one of those bands you have vinyl for. You're a vinyl guy.
I am a vinyl guy. I used to live in Brooklyn. That's required.
Yeah. You wear suspenders and skinny jeans.
I don't do that. No, not that far. I wasn't in Williamsburg. There's a difference. There's South Slope, Brooklyn.
Sure there is.
There's Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Jaden Nunn. And another missed opportunity. VCU 11 for 18 at the free throw line. Stolen away. A 2-hand grab for Nunn. Just snatched it out of the air. Jackson got hung up in the air. Good closeout by Elliott. Deloach wants it. Diaz-Graham stopping that from happening. Jackson takes it in and scores. And Guillermo Diaz-Graham took a shot to the face.
Yeah, I think he took a little off arm. I think Zeb Jackson got him with the right arm, but what a finish.
Burton and Deloach finishes him.
That finish from Zeb Jackson was terrific, but let's see the off arm. He gets to the right hand. It was just a little. Hi, how are you? It's all right. And this just isn't there. Burton's been able to get to the basket, but he's often done it from the top of the key. And at the top of the key, it's hard to figure out who's going to come over and help. That's an easy help. Recover and block.
Takes it off the inbound. Buries a three.
His energy's been different, too. He was quiet yesterday. You're starting to see a little swagger, a little confidence. Somebody's got to have an edge for this Pitt team.
Hinson and Cummings each with 11 in the second half. None to a cutting Jackson. He's brought some energy for VCU, and Jackson will go to the line here. He'll shoot a 1-and-1 with 3:54 to go. Pittsburgh's got the lead over VCU. 3:54 to go in the second half. Third place game here at the Vivid Seats Legends Classic. Our championship game will be approximately 25 minutes after the end of this one, pitting number 20 Michigan, which blew out Pittsburgh yesterday, and Arizona State, which had to come back late in a game they only led for about 3 or 4 minutes to beat VCU.
Michigan much further along at this point in the season than they were last year. May have had arguably more talent last year, but it just takes time for all that to come together. Hunter Dickinson's a big help. You have that anchor. Talk about point guards or stabilizers, and big guys are anchors. Well, big guys can be anchors and stabilizers at the same time because it's the guy you play off of, play through. It gives you confidence as a young guard. And also, the game plan for your opponent is often geared towards Hunter Dickinson. It makes the job easier for guards.
So 1-and-1 Zeb Jackson is the first VCU player in the double figures. Nelly Cummings back on the floor with 4 fouls for Pittsburgh. Jorge Diaz-Graham is out, so Pitt splits up the DGBs.
It's interesting. We saw some Michigan fans coming in for the second game, and they were yelling at Brandon Johns and Zeb Jackson, and it's crazy to see. The world is so different with guys transferring left and right. It used to be that you didn't like that guy because he left. Now it's just the way of the world.
They're not going to like Frankie Collins tonight because he'll be the opposing point guard, the Michigan transfer. He got hold away from the ball. It's going to be called on Deloach, holding Hinson. And that'll mean free throws for Blake Hinson. That's 4 fouls against Deloach.
I was wondering if they would go offense, defense at all if they had the opportunity with Cummings. Just hard. The way the game's played, I feel badly calling it sloppy. It's been a little sloppy. But in late game situations, guys are just trying to put it on the deck, make something happen. It's easy to pick up that 5th foul. He's going to have to be cautious on the defensive end.
You attack differently if you're VCU, or is that getting a little bit too cute at this point?
What do you mean attack differently? I think you still got to get them moving left to right and then attack.
I mean Cummings specifically with the 4 fouls. Like, you calling stuff to go after him, or just in the flow of the game, you got to know that.
I would attack him. It doesn't mean you attack him to score, but you attack him to get some sort of rotation, get the defense to help. You got to remember, the other 4 defenders are fully aware that he's got 4 fouls.
Oh, that's off the hands of Johns. And you had Cummings closing over there.
Great pass. A great pass, good action. 2 guys stayed high. He slips this thing, really never set the screen. And just couldn't make the catch. It's a good play by Zeb Jackson.
If you do catch it, Cummings may just have to concede the layup so as to not pick up the 5th foul. 15 turnovers committed by VCU.
Look at you. You want to trade? I'll be play-by-play.
Yeah, done that before with Sean Farm. Worked out beautifully. Watkins.
I know what I am and I know what I'm not. And I know what I would stink at.
Oh, don't sell yourself short.
I did do it once. And
did you?
Yeah, I did.
How come?
The Wooden Legacy
Somebody
tournament.
got sick?
Yeah, Roxy Bernstein hurt his back, and I had to.
See, he hurt his back.
Let's just be real. It was job security for you at best.
Here's a three from Cummings. Missed it long. Johns High points a rebound. Under 3 to play. 4-point game in the third place game of the Legends Classic. Shriver's on the floor for VCU. Johns going to work on Hinson. Johns trying to back him down. Johns to the right hand, and he draws the foul on Hinson. 2 free throws to come for Brandon Johns Jr.
And in that situation, you have Guillermo Diaz Graham behind. He's got to be talking. He's got to communicate. He can leave Watkins a little bit and help on that shot. Hinson's got to know that he's got help behind him. That means you got to communicate it. Be loud, be obvious. Because likely it deters the shot as well. When you have that secondary defender who's 7 feet with 15-foot wingspan coming over, it deters the shot.
And a quiet 10 points for Johns tonight. Just 2 for 9 from the floor. Now 6 for 8 at the line. It's a 2-point game again, and VCU sets up pressure.
That's been the challenge with Brandon Johns. As good as he is, a lot of what he does is quiet. I want to see him be louder.
Burton got rid of it against the double. Elliott Juke Shriver in the lane. Diaz Graham had it, knocked out of his hands, and it'll be Pitt ball. I think Rhodes wants to review. He's pointing to the clock, and Bill Covington says, no, there's 2:22 to go. Has to be under 2 to review that. We got a foul against Watkins of VCU. That will put Pitt in the double bonus.
Just a lot of contact on both sides.
Sends Burton to the line. 0 for 1 there today.
This looks like a different Pitt team than we saw late last night or late in the game yesterday. It's just a different, I keep saying the word energy, and I hate that because it's like the New York and that New York, but it is like that kind of energy, that New York energy where somebody plays well that doesn't play significant minutes, it lifts your entire team. And we've seen the bench come up, and we've seen guys like Nelly Cummings have a better second half. I think somewhat lifted by the energy.
Everything has changed in the New York Minute. Burton with 10 in the second half. Pitt, which lost by 31 yesterday, has the lead on VCU. Johns strong to the basket. Johns Jr. delivers. Chance for a 3-point play. And the foul, the 4th against Guillermo Diaz Graham.
Yeah, that's the kind of noise I'm looking for from Brandon Johns. Again, being deliberate. He just spun right away, went strong to the basket, right through the arms of the shot blockers, and finished. He even showed a little emotion there, too. I mean, he's a high-level player. I always loved him at Michigan. I thought he really could have been good at Michigan, but he just never applied it.
It's a 3-point per game score at Michigan. And he just had a steal. Took it away out of the inbounds.
Just Elliott, not a good decision. That's been the concern with Elliott, is just some of the decision-making. Great talent, great potential, but you've got to make good decisions, particularly with 2 minutes left in a basketball game. You're trying to win.
None around Diaz Graham. Shriver setting up Johns again. Working on the freshman Diaz Graham. And Diaz Graham has fouled out of this game. Johns will go to the line where he can give VCU the lead.
Well, look, the best thing VCU did, no Ace Baldwin down the stretch, likely go Ace Baldwin's way, and he just determines what happens. You go to Brandon Johns, who went right back to the guy that got you an easy bucket and won and got the steal. You want to play through Brandon Johns, and you got to ask him in this timeout, look, if we're going to play through you, play to you, you need to make good decisions. Be deliberate, be quick, make a move, attack the basket, but if help comes over, be ready to read it.
So Guillermo Diaz Graham fouls out. 7.7 rebounds, 30 terrific minutes off the bench. And Federico is going to come back in for him.
Again, Hughley out is a big deal. The physical game is different with Hughley being out, but the Diaz-Graham brothers were really good. They brought a little something that I'm not sure Jeff Capel would have learned what he learned about those guys without having to play them as much as he did. It's like a moral victory.
Johns ties the game. Deloach returns for Schreiber for VCU.
And this is where, as a leader, Nelly Cummings has to say, look, get me the ball. We're not going to force it into bad situations. We got to make a couple good decisions here down the stretch.
Johns has the last 7 for VCU. Rams have the lead. 90 seconds to go. Burton. Hard double came from Johns. Left Hinson with some daylight. And a foul's going to go against Federico. That's his 4th for Pitt.
That was a good box out by Zeb Jackson. He held his ground, and he maintained the box out when the ball came off the rim. He's not going to elevate over Federico. He held his ground, held his block out, and Federico had to pull him. I don't mind that shot. I think a lot of people would say that's a bad shot. You ran some action, 2 guys went with the ball, you kick it out, you got a decent look for one of your better players. You could waste another 20 seconds and take a worse shot.
There appears to be some confusion now, maybe on who the foul was on. Maybe on who got fouled. I think Jeff Capel was pointing to Deloach, saying that Deloach was fouled and Deloach should be taking the free throws.
Zeb Jackson was the guy that got fouled, at least from what I saw. Should have been on the block out.
Yeah, Deloach is nowhere near this play.
Zeb Jackson.
Deloach contested the shot.
And it was just hands on the back.
I'll tell you what, I like the energy. We're going to see Michigan coming up. I like the energy that Jackson and Johnson Michigan transfers have provided here. Not a ton of transfers on this VCU team compared to most, really 3 transfers in the rotation. They're very excited about getting these 2 who played spot minutes at Michigan, and you can see why they're going to make a big impact in the A-10.
I think Brandon Johns, if he brought a little more fire, position he played, the versatility he has at Michigan, he would have been far more impactful. But it's something he can certainly do here at VCU. I think the energy, the emotion we've seen from him as of late over the last few minutes has been good. It's something you got to build upon. Also, you understand that when you don't have one of your best players, an Ace Baldwin, on the floor, someone else has to be a vocal leader. Who's it going to be? Well, Brandon Johns is the guy they look to. Say, you've played major minutes, big-time basketball. You've got to be that guy at times.
Arizona State waiting to face Michigan in the championship game. The ex-Wolverine Jackson hits a couple of free throws. It's now an 11-3 VCU run. They've scored the last 7. They have the lead, and Jeff Capel uses his 3rd timeout. I want to remind you about the women's basketball game of the year Sunday, 1 versus 2 at Maples. South Carolina and Stanford, the last 2 national champions at 3 Eastern on ABC and the ESPN app. Let's go inside the pit huddle here, John. 75 seconds to go. Diaz, Graham, Guillermo has fouled out. No John Hughley. Both teams in a double bonus. Take me inside Jeff Capel's mind here.
Well, look, if I'm sitting here telling these guys, first thing, we don't need threes. I think for some reason you just think that you're down 3. We got to get a 3-point basket. Get to the rim. Draw defense. Get to the foul line. Move the basketball a little bit east to west and attack downhill. The VCU defense has not been great in terms of containing the basketball off the bounce. There's also been a lot of fouls called as of late, right? They're looking to call that 2-hand check. So if you can get Nelly Cummings and Hinson involved in some 2-man games, some sort of action, and just read off of it. At times, 2 guys have gone with the basketball and a ball screen action. I would explore that.
Pitt has not scored from the field in over 3 minutes. Jorge Diaz-Graham back into the game. He tried to set a screen for Elliott. Jackson was all over it.
Switching, so you're just slipping everything.
Watkins on Burton. Here's Elliott for 3. No. His tough shooting night continues as none is fouled on the rebound. Hinson picks up his 4th.
Not a terrible shot, but didn't get anything going offensively. Didn't get a defense to chase, didn't force a scramble, didn't really give yourself an advantage at all. So no advantage on this possession. You just kind of catch and shoot, good contest. That's what you ask for from a defense. You also have to know late game situations, things are always different, right? Teams often switch, so you have to be ready to counter the switch in defense. Simplest counters, get the matchup you like and attack.
Now 10 of the last 12 VCU points have come at the foul line. Jaden Nunn 4 for 6 tonight. Only 6 points, but 35 big minutes. Has really been good defensively in this tournament. He extends the lead to 5. Burton trying to go quickly. Elliott fouled. He couldn't get it to go. He will have a chance to pick up 2.
And that was a good decision by Elliott. You saw the defender coming over. Pump fake, just got to finish that one.
And Deloach has fouled out with 46.8 to go.
I do like the versatility in that VCU lineup. It's hard to call anybody a small lineup anymore. That's like, you look over there, you're like, yeah, 6'7", 6'8", 6'9". It's like, how small is that? But there's versatility in it. You can switch in late game situations. You still have to communicate really well. That's going to be the challenge. And Shriver coming on for VCU. Not their strongest defender, but a good body down low as well.
It has been a difficult night for Greg Elliott. 1 for 8 from the field, 4 turnovers. He's played 37 minutes, but he has a chance to make this a 3-point game at the line.
He's just got to simplify the game more often. And particularly after a mistake, make a simple play, right? Get your mind right, get your rhythm back. Sometimes I always just drive and kick. Just a simple drive and kick and replace it. It just gets things moving, and again, it gets you re-engaged with a little control.
Very good free throw shooter, Elliott. Goes 1 for 2. Federico will return for Pitt. And Hinson's going to check out with 4 fouls. Little offense defense here for Jeff Capel, down 4. Down 40 foul here?
Not yet.
Nunn hung up in the air, found Jackson. About 16 seconds difference between game and shot clock, and now Elliott commits a foul.
I like that they committed in the backcourt to get the steal. Now, what I don't mind is if you play a little over-aggressively trying to get that steal in the backcourt, maybe you do foul. But you're being aggressive to get the steal or force a turnover.
Jaden Nunn, 76% foul shooter a season ago. And left some out there at the line tonight. Had made 11 straight before that one from Nunn. 23 of 31 as a team, the lead back to 5.
Smart bringing that help with Brandon Johns.
Hinson fouled by Johns. And Hinson's going to shoot 2. 3rd foul against Johns.
If you're going to bring that help, you have to be prepared to help up on Hinson. And that may mean Shriver steps up, takes the ball. Brandon Johns has to retreat out to the 3-point line, take the next pass away. It was almost as if they weren't connected on what was going on that possession.
Fragmented pressure will lead to free throws, and Hinson hits the first.
Well, this is where you've got to make so you can set up and give yourself a chance at another steal. And this is where you will be a little extra aggressive in the half court or in the back court.
14 of his 18 in the second half. Hinson will check out again with the 4 fouls. Federico returns. Shot clock is turned off. Shriver to inbound. Jackson very close to the sideline. Double team came, and then the foul committed by Diaz-Grant. That's his 4th. Pittsburgh has 4 players with 4 fouls. And that's not including Guillermo Diaz-Graham, who fouled out. Jorge, Federico, Hinson, and Cummings all with 4.
We always say you want to learn early in the season. You want to grow. Well, it's great. The greatest thing is to learn while winning. But compared to last night, this game's not over, but compared to last night, this Pitt team looks completely different. They're doing it without one of their better players. Yeah, this is VCU, frankly.
No Hughley for Pitt, no Baldwin for VCU. Jackson hits 2, back to a 5-point game. Burton back to a 3-point game. VCU has 2 timeouts. This is a tough place to have it in the corner. Nunn got it away to Jackson. Jackson through the double team, breaks the pressure, down to Johns. Don't need to shoot it. He will though with the angle, and he'll all but seal it for VCU. Elliott's going to go to the rim, lay it in. 1 timeout left for Pitt. Will they use it? No. And now a foul committed by Burton, and Jackson can seal it at the line. Zeb Jackson with 15, Brandon Johns with 18, and the 2 Michigan transfers looking to seal a win for VCU with their old team coming up in the championship game.
From yesterday to today, who did you learn more about in tonight's game?
I think Pitt, even in a loss.
Yeah.
But for VCU, from their perspective, they actually closed this game out without ball, which they could not do yesterday.
Good response from VCU, who really struggled offensively. Got back to the free throw line and really won this game at the free throw line. They fought back, again, playing without Ace Baldwin. That's a big deal. But look, I hate to say I'm okay, I'm happy if I'm Jeff Capel, but there's definitely more positives in this than there were yesterday. I watched that tape back late last night, sleep, and it was hard to find positives with the last 24 minutes of the game for Pitt. Today, a much different story. You saw a little better energy. You saw a team that was a little more connected. Now, the communication is still lacking, and that's going to be the case for a lot of teams this year. They barely know each other. And the social dynamics of a team determine the actual play on the floor. I know people think that we're all like professionals here. No, these kids are not professionals yet. They may get some money, but they're not professionals yet. This is where you come to learn how to be a professional.
Mike Rhodes took his 3rd timeout. All VCU has to do here is avoid doing something silly.
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask me, what's Mike Rhodes saying? Don't be stupid. It's just like, don't foul somebody on 3-point play. I mean, look, you could be saying things like, look, let's force the catch, coming back to the ball, let's take time off the clock by doing that. Maybe get somebody tall on the ball. I don't know.
There 56 free throws attempted in this game. VCU, despite a slow start, 26 for 35 at the line, 15 for 19 in the second half. 15 of their last 19 points came on free throws. Baseball pass from Burton, intercepted by Jackson, and that will seal it. No second half collapse for VCU this time. They come back, they survive, and they beat Pittsburgh in the 3rd place game.
Well, if you're VCU and Mike Rhodes, you feel good about walking away here with a win. No Ace Baldwin. You get Ace Baldwin back in, I don't know, a week or 2. Different story. For Pittsburgh, certainly some positives. You found new pieces added to your depth, but ultimately you got to figure it out.
The Legends Classic Championship coming up in about 25 minutes. Michigan, Arizona State. Until then, we send you to Zubin and the guys in the studio.